How's that for a cold open? We just opened a cold one. I'm one of the boys. Cybrwulf is one of the boys. And for tonight, Kylen is also one of the boys.
I'm a boy with an I.
Welcome back to Let's Talk About It, the podcast where normally Kylen and I get drunk, do parkour, and talk about the games that we've done and other RPG stuff.
But
Steven's back this time.
Yeah!
we have someone else to talk about it with.
So the original plan for the previous episode was to record that the same time that we did our Gen Con episode. But I went too long on the Blair Witch stream, and then we also went too long.
We talked so long.
We talked so long, I didn't even finish editing the last episode before we recorded this one, which is the LTAI first.
Woo!
I got a backlog. It's fine.
Is it a backlog or is it a checklist?
With me, it's always a backlog.
Sober Connor screaming at the monitor.
It's been a minute since we actually talked about the games that we were doing, though. And this is actually our first time that we're going to talk about doing games while we have a guest on. So
what are we drinking?
That's a great question. I'm drinking coffee, meaning Starbucks blonde roast coffee with Kahlua Baileys. That is not pumpkin spice this time, just regular Baileys, and some Pinnacle double espresso vodka. But this time I added a cheeky bit of chocolate syrup to it.
Ooh, cheeky chocolate.
Saucy.
I am drinking coffee flavored Shoon Mine.
Shoon Mine.
It's like moonshine, but without all the prohibition baggage.
Is that the same kind of moonshine that we had
Yes.
during our first
This is
LTAI?
the exact same moonshine from the very first, our very first episode and our only live episode of
Our
Let's Talk.
only live episode.
Yeah, where we did actual parkour instead of just kicking our leggies up in the air.
So, those are trade secrets, Kylen.
Oh, God damn it. Edit this out in post. Here, let me just kick off a wall real quick.
That was so intense. You had like at least 3 flips.
Oh, I'm really sweaty now. I'm so sweaty from working so hard. Indoor, what are you drinking?
I came prepared with 2 beverages this evening. Also because one, I made it through about half of the Jameson that I bought last week. Or no, half of the Bushmills that I bought last week. Jesus. And then throughout the week I finished it. And also because, so this way the listeners don't think that we're recording in the same evening. I have something completely different. So this week I have the Pyramid Outburst Imperial IPA as a 22-ounce beverage. It is 8.5% booze. And then the booze that I opened as my backup is the Big Ballard Imperial IPA, which is a 19.2 fluid-ounce can of 8.6% alcohol.
Damn.
So I brought myself some sipping booze.
Ooh.
That'll also rightly just get me smashed throughout the show. So I'm feeling good.
That's what we want. So I think before we go into the games we're playing, because we had you on last episode for like the Gen Con episode, we kind of just like dived right into things. But I think for our listeners who aren't aware of who you are, can you please give us your background on who you are and how long you've been playing games and what you do?
Yeah. So I am the Indoor Adventurer. I am a Twitch streamer, YouTuber. You can't find it anymore because I wiped them all off the face of the earth, but I had a previous channel that was just the Indoor Adventurer, and I did Let's Plays. On that channel that I kept up for about 2.5 years. I had over 500 videos. That was just Let's Plays because I thought that was something that I could do. It turns out it was 500 videos of absolute trash, and it never really picked up at all. So I scrapped that entire thing and decided that, okay, I'm going to start doing Twitch and YouTube. And it was because of a a bad experience that I had in a homebrew tabletop game, and a good experience watching dear friends of the channel, Sirlution Gaming and Jordan of Forgotten Realms Explained do their Saturday morning D&D show, that I was then inspired to make the predecessor to the IndoorAdventures channel, which was Simple and Keen. My kind of like video essay, quick breakdown videos of stuff that I wanted to make because I thought it would be fun. I always enjoyed YouTube reviewers that did content. One of my favorite YouTube reviewers is Brutal Moose, if anyone is familiar with him, but that is who I draw a lot of inspiration from, / drew a lot of inspiration from with my recap videos. And I had about, I want to say like not even 10 of them out. I think I had maybe like 8 of these videos out. And my buddy RJ, rjustice282, also a friend of the channel, Kylen on our Monday night game, he said, hey, if you ever ran a game, I want to play in it. And then LB Hackemup was also like, hey, if you ever ran a game, I'd want to play in it. And then I had run a game for LB, RJ, Danae, and Danae's husband, Tyler. And I was like, oh, this was a great game. I would like to run a game for these people. And then Tyler is active in the military. So he went away, and I was like, I need a 4th player. Who's somebody that I have enjoyed playing a game with and that I converse with on a regular basis, kind of. Hey, this dude's Cybrwulf1201, who's always in Sirlution's chat, and in the Saturday morning D&D show chat. Do you want to play a game that's just gonna go on forever?
I'm an understudy.
Yeah, it was like, Cyber, do you want to play in a homebrew D&D campaign that I'm gonna run? And it was like, oh, okay. And like at that point, I think you hadn't started Dragon Knights yet, I don't think.
No, actually, this came very soon after. Actually, my very first time streaming on Twitch or playing in a D&D game on Twitch, and that was Sirlution, his Song of Storms or Sky of Swords.
Yes,
those are
a lot of swords.
Yes,
the
and
Sky of Swords one shot.
That was the first time I had ever seen Indoor in any sort of online game, and I'm like, oh, hey, that guy's cool.
And what did I try and do? Talk down Tharsden.
I'm a bard. I'm just gonna viciously mock Tharsden, which is actually the second time in that month that I, as a level 3rd character, had other people on my team try to fight gods.
It happens.
It's only a 1 shot.
Because that also happened to me on off_the table. Where I was a warlock to Tharsden.
Nice.
I was a fallen Asmar warlock who had a pact of the Great Old One with his Grandpappy Tharsden. Grandpappy Tharsden. His name was Uriel. He had a best friend. He was a mimic. His name was Chesty. I had to kill Chesty.
No! I was going to say I love Chesty already, and then you said he died. I would also like to say huge thank you to Sirlution, because my first streamed game was also playing with Sirlution. It was before I even made the channel, made my video. I was going to be releasing the first Simple and Keen video, which was, I actually have my YouTube shit up here. I believe it was about player agency.
Damn, this man came prepared.
It's all I do. Oh God, why do I have so many videos? All of them are just games. Okay, there we go.
That's what happens whenever you make an actual play channel.
It was Sandbox. It was talking about, how in a sandbox setting, if it's a true sandbox, most of your characters are going to align to villainous intentions, whether they know it or not. And that's because of the classic hero's journey description, which is in Joseph Campbell's The Hero with a Thousand Faces. It describes a hero as somebody who is reactive, whereas villains are proactive, because villains know what they want, they know what they have to do, and they're going to go out and do it. Whereas a hero sees the villain doing that and says, okay, I'm going to stop you. So in a true sandbox setting where you are placed in this fantasy world and you have absolutely nothing else going on, your players are you're usually going to find yourself being like, oh, why are my players murder hobos? You didn't give them anything. They have nothing to do but kill. Like,
who gives stuff?
Stop killing my NPC. He was just making a loaf of bread. There, now his children know who the real villains are. See this face? Come at me in 20 years. And then they storm off. Like, your true sandbox will always be, or not always, but like 80% of the time, you guys are villains, whether you know it or not.
Mm.
And so I made that video. And at the time, I was pseudo caught up with Critical Role Season 1, but was like, I don't have time to watch it live. So I always have to watch it late anyways. I'm not going to give Geek and Sundry my free Twitch Prime subscription every month. I'm going to give it to this small channel, the Sir Lucian Gaming, for Saturday morning D&D. And then as soon as I hit the subscribe, he was like, oh, by the way, we are doing a thing this month where everybody who subscribes gets to play in a game with me. I was like, wait, what? And so like I just lucked into it entirely, of just like streaming the week before my video ended up going live.
See, I also subscribed during that month, but he didn't see it. So I subscribed again the next month and then got in.
RJ was trying to get into a game as well, but it was during the interview that he had with Games Methuselah. And he was just like, he was really into the conversation, and it said like, RJustice282 is subscribed. And I just went down. He never got the invite to actually play in a game or anything like that, but that's fine. Again, that's why we made our own game with blackjack and priestesses of soon.
It's awesome though. I just want to say that I love your channel and I love the community that's sprung around your channel. The things that you do foster this kind of long-term commitment style campaign in the face of all these other channels doing shorter stuff. You just have this nice little friendly community. It's so great. So
Amy Falcone of the C Team,
owner of the awesome Hawoo emote.
Hawoo. She's the reason I wanted to make the Discord server and wanted to be active in Twitch. Because like before following her on Twitch and joining her Discord, I never understood Twitch communities. I would watch Twitch games, but I never got just hopping into chat and being like, hey, it's this person again, because I never had I never was in a recurring Discord community where a streamer would go live every day, same time, and the same people would join in. So you started recognizing screen names. You started actually getting to know these people, even though it was Twitch chat. So before that, I had always just seen Twitch chat as, all of these people are just saying show feet. I don't understand. I want to leave.
Hey, it's show feet guy.
You found my alt accounts.
And then the same with Discord, where I had initially gotten Discord to just like do one-on-one messages, occasional group messages, but it was in her group as well that I saw that it could be like a positive place and not just like, I shit posted again. Like if you look at our chat, the closest thing that we have to a shit posting area is GIFs and goofs. But even then, if you post something that is a like quote unquote true shit post with hyper offensive imagery and jests, motherfucker, I will take that down. That has no place in this place. I want to make a space where people can come and hang out and just feel free to be themselves, because that's what the internet should be. If you were playing Neopets and you went onto a Neopets forum, people were generally nice until they really weren't, in which case you didn't go there anymore. But like, when I was younger in high school, I got into a lot of text role play, just a lot of forum-based role play, and it was that same kind of thing where like you knew certain people and you were comfortable role playing with those people and like being able to just kind of hang around, and then eventually you met their social circles through different role play forums. And so I've kind of taken that mentality just and shoved it into Discord. I was scared for a long time, I would like to say, about opening up Discord, because right as I was making mine, there was another content creator who had open door policy for their Twitch chat that just got invaded by a bunch of nasty people. And so they had to go through like a deep vetting process and deep clean process to then remove all of those people. And I was so put off by that I was like, I am just going to like solid stamp, like Twitch subscribers and patrons only. And then for my birthday month, I was like, fuck it. It's been like the same 40 of us in this group chat for months. This isn't growing, and keeping people out when it's this small really doesn't matter. Come on in. If you're shitty, we'll remove you.
But yeah, you built a really great community that has let you run some very excellent games, and also playing some. You've been playing some Strahd as a woman for a long time. How's that going?
Out of all of the things to happen, I love Strahd as a woman. Mostly because big step on me energy. Let's be real.
I've been wanting to run a Strahd as a woman campaign for such a long time. Connor, you can attest to this.
I can.
So to see the fact that Danae is doing it and it's on the internet makes me very happy.
Well, it started off as one of those, like, as we were going around, like, okay, we're going to be playing Curse of Strahd, and as we're building this narrative, one of us sent, like, if you type in, like, Strahd as a woman into Google, it's, like, the #1 search result. It's a really, really high-quality picture of, like, this lady leaning back with a chalice of wine. She has wolves and ravens and shit around her, and it looks fly as hell, and we posted that. And it was like, what if Strahd was a woman? She would be, like, scary hot, though. And then we all kind of joked about it, and then it was one of those, unless. And then we were all down to be like, yeah, Strahd is a lady. Let's do it. And honestly, one, evil does not have a gender. It does not matter. Strahd is a woman. Strahd is a man. It's still Strahd. They're still going to fuck you up. But I think that there's something... like, maybe it dives into, like, the femme fatale trope, where it's just like, ooh, super dangerous lady. But at the same time, I like it because it presents a new dynamic into it. Because normally, with the way that Curse of Strahd is, that I've seen it run anyways, is like, Strahd, as this man's, is like, he's handsome, but you see the cover of the book and you're like, it's not for me. But like, so you can kind of like have that breakaway moment of being like, okay, we're going to kill Strahd. I feel no resentment towards this. But then you have Strahd as the lady. And Lady Strahd, again, it doesn't fucking matter. The Contessa will kill you just as quickly as the Count. One of the things that's really cool that we're doing is that only those on a, like, it's almost like a litmus test, right? Where certain people will be like, oh, Strahd is a man. Of course Strahd is a man. And you're like, okay, you have never interacted with Strahd. But then you talk to other people and they're like, she's the worst one of us all. And it's like, oh shit, okay, you actually know what you're talking about then, because everybody else still thinks that they're a dude. We all know is female. What do you have to offer, sir? And then we stride up to them because they now know, like, there's an indicator of when we have crucial NPCs now.
Interesting.
So that part's really cool. The other part that's cool with it as well is, I want to say it's more of like a modern take, at least what Danae's doing with it. The modern take that we're taking to it, because like in Barovia, everyone's too downtrodden to care about who you're attracted to. It doesn't matter. Life is fleeting. We all know it. For God's sakes, kiss the girl. Like, and then you have Irina, in our case, just was interested in outsiders. So Strahd posed as a lady who was from the outside, who told Irina all of these fantastical stories about what it would be like to be on the outside of Barovia, and promised that they would be able to take them to this place. And then Strahd got weird about it and started biting people.
You know, as you do.
It's a kink. We don't kink shame here. Only kink same.
Only kink same.
Huh?
They're in the speed dial contacts. I have my flip phone out, but like I haven't pressed it yet. It's there. I could. I'm not going to. And then my experience as a player, I DM on this channel so often. So it's very nice when somebody's like playing my game. It's like, oh my God, I can just sit back and relax and focus on one character instead of like 17. That's fine. When we started planning it out, the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica was still pretty new. I have played in Curse of Strahd partially before. I've run Curse of Strahd partially before. We are at a much farther place than I've ever gotten to in this module. But I knew certain things going in. One of which being the existence of mongrel folk. So that is what, looking at the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica, I saw the Simic hybrid, and I was like, oh my God, I could be a monster man! I could monster mash! And so I messaged Janae, and I was like, if I started out as a half-elf, could like Barovia's dark gifts turn me into a mongrel folk? And she was like, why would you want... Fuck it. Yeah, that sounds great. And so I became that. So in our initial death house, the thing that I had with him was that he was just an average acolyte. He didn't know magic. He failed out of med school. He was just taking his sister to get arranged married. And then they wound up in Barovia. And for the first session, for the first like 2.5 hour episode that we had, I didn't rage as a barbarian because I wanted my rage to only happen the first time when my sister got hit. Because for my character, he was so passive, like, no, I don't, why are we fighting? This seems dumb. Up until that point. And then after he rages, okay, that's when like this Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde situation goes in. Like that's what I wanted out of this character. And then looking at the stylings of the Simic hybrid, there are a lot of bug things, there are a lot of crustacean things, and then there are a lot of lizard things. And so I was like, I want the carapace, but I want it to be scales and spines instead of bug parts, because I took the 30-foot climbing speed. Okay, how could I have climbing speed but not have weird fucking bug parts? Because I've, like, RJ, for example, has played a Simic hybrid before, had the climbing speed, and had, like, giant spider leggies come out from his back so that way he could walk up places. And I thought that was a little much. So instead I have gecko hands. Like, I had to spend 30 minutes looking for a goddamn lizard or creature that could hang upside down. Because climbing's one thing, but you need suction to be able to stay climbing. And in D&D... climbing is broken because there's no specification that you can't do it on the ceiling. So I wanted to make sure I could climb on the ceiling.
Just gotta give it the suck.
And so I went out of my way and I researched like different kinds of lizards, different creatures and things to just be like, this is how I would like for my transformation to occur. And then I did the ballsiest thing I've ever done as a player, which was I sent Danae a message that just said, I don't care, fuck me up, fam.
Oh no.
The Curse of Strahd. That's not... Looking back, it's like, you were probably drunk when you said this, or like all too sober and just full of yourself.
You handed her not just knives, but ammunition to a
I handed her Oh yeah. And so that has been my experience in Curse of Strahd. Like, as a player, I've never cried before. I have cried many a time in Curse of Strahd because it's like, there's nothing we can do. Everything's fucked. And like my character himself is a follower of Ilmater, who's the god of suffering, martyrdom. So he has had other clerics look at him and be like, why am I turning into the lizard from the Amazing Spider-Man? And their response is, God works in mysterious ways. Like, every time it is, it was a gift from your god, but Barovia perverted it. Sorry. And so, like Silmi, for my, played by LB Hakama, was like, hey, I want to research Remove Curse so I can cure my brother, so I can fix him. And they were like, it's actually a blessing. It's not a curse at all. I'm so sorry. Sorry. Yeah, and so playing through that, another thing that we're doing differently is that we don't have a companion. I mean, we kind of do, but we don't, because in Curse of Strahd, you're supposed to get like this, like, make a companion to join you along your quest.
Yeah. Unless you draw the card that says, no, you're fucked.
So what we did instead is that Danae wanted it to be a 3-man game, specifically so that way she could have guests on frequently, and then those guests that we asked onto the show would basically be our companions for the travel, like our recurring powerful characters. So that way, when we end up going to face Strahd, we do have like this small army of other players that is just like, all right, motherfucker, you thought you were talking hot shit a minute ago, now you're about to get kicked in your chest. Like,
excellent.
Yeah, so like our Curse of Strahd campaign has been great. It's been super fun. I love being a player in a recurring game, because other than this game, the last time I was a player for a lengthy period of time was when I played in a 5-year campaign where we went from levels 1 through 20.
Damn, son.
I have played 5e, man. I have been there. Endgame sucks. It's just frustrating. When 2 ancient white dragons are a casual encounter, you know you've done something wrong to piss off God.
Wait. Fuck.
Well, I am very excited to see you get further into Curse of Strahd. And I'm very excited for whenever y'all meet Billy again.
I want to meet Billy. She won. I got cursed because of it, but she won, God damn it.
So Billy was my guest character for that Curse of Strahd game. She is a green hag. Yeah. She fought against a coven of hags because they were stealing her trade secrets, and also wouldn't let her into their coven because they already had 3 people.
Her book club?
Well, now Billy's trying to start a book club. She's like, I'm going to make my own coven. And she also was just like, hey, I will help you fight these hags because they're mean. And she...
Fuck you, Tiffany. You should have invited me to your sleepover.
We were getting very close to the end of the session, so I'm like, y'all go. I'm going to solo the hag coven leader. And the next time the party ran into her, she was a spooky ghosty, so Billy won. But at what cost?
No.
I have a completely new stat block for her now. It's great.
Nice.
Can't wait for you to see her.
Because I know that previously so everyone was just playing, like, we were all playing player characters. You literally played a monster stat block as an ally.
Yep.
How was that?
It was awful. It's all I could do was Vicious Mockery. It's almost as if I was playing a fucking bard again.
So the best class in 5e? Is that what I'm hearing?
Kylen, what games have you been playing?
Oh boy, what have I been playing? Well, my schedule is a lot sparser now. We're starting back into the Last for the Awful Sea over on twitch.tv/off_the table. We just did a flashback episode 2 weeks ago. We weren't able to do an episode this week, but next week we're jumping right back into our kind of, not necessarily season finale, but our climactic moment where the town is being destroyed by the ocean and bad shit is going on. So I'm really glad we did a flashback episode so I could like get back into character and how to play the game and character dynamics, because we ended on a really intense note. So definitely looking forward to that. But other than that, I'm just over on Indoor Adventures playing Ghosts of Saltmarsh.
Yeah. How's Ghosts of Saltmarsh going? Because I think the last time that we talked about it, we had just cleared out the spooky, not so haunted mansion.
Oh my god, that was so long ago.
Yeah. How's Saltmarsh?
Indoor, leave the room. No, God, so much has happened in between then. I don't even really know like what all we covered and what we haven't covered. So like after we cleared out the house, we like took down some smugglers on a pirate ship. Got a ship.
Actually, I remember where we left off.
Where'd we leave off?
Albus just killed somebody.
Oh, okay.
Albus did a murder.
So we left off on that. Well,
we left off on the accidental murder.
It was a manslaughter. So yeah,
Man's laughter.
Killed a wizard dude, and I think maybe 2/3 of the party found out about that. I don't think Jill ever found out, but I think Hish and Ullman did, and they responded in different ways. Hish being like, "What the fuck, man?" And Ullman being like, "Oh, oh."
Yeah. I think I covered Albus's feelings on it last time, but anyway, soon after we killed that dude's ghost.
That's true. We did have a haunted slumber party in which we killed that dude's ghost, and that was a terrifying time.
And so now Albus legally owns that house now, as well as we all have the Acquisitions Incorporated headquarters in Saltmarsh, which happens to be that spooky abandoned haunted house.
Ooh, spooky.
And we also have a pirate ship.
Yeah, we have so many little places that we can crash and hang. Also, I don't know if we talked about the sport, but in between now and then we went to a swamp and we dealt with lizard people.
Yeah, we dealt with lizard people in a very calm and reasonable fashion.
It's because they were obsessed with Jim Dark Magic.
Dark magic.
But yeah, then after that, Kylen, as a player, had to leave for 2 weeks' time. So you guys had another little adventure while I was gone.
Yep. So we went after this merchant ship, actually Hish's old ship,
Iron Duke, baby.
that had a merchant's like strongbox on it. And yeah, we went there and realized it was infested with a whole bunch of spiders. Even more hopeless amount of spiders than what was in the spooky house.
Spooky house only had one room of hopeless spiders. This was an entire galleon of hopeless spiders.
That is a hopeless amount of spiders.
By the time we retrieved and left, because you were gone, I was controlling your character as well as mine. And face spiders do a lot of damage. Honestly, at that point, anything that touched Albus was going to knock him down, because he had 12 hit points at level 4.
And then you put Albus's curse on Jill by playing her.
Well, so like I have one character down, so I'm like, oh, okay, this is bad, but like I still have Kylen's character. I still have some agency. Indoor says, okay, Jill takes 15 points of poison damage.
Fuck.
All right. Now I'd have double no agency. It's great. So I'm like, fuck, I might have killed Kylen's character while she wasn't here. Fuck. Fast forward to the next week episode where I did kill Kylen's character.
Okay, listen. So, before you guys freak out, we go to this island where Albus wants to go because his mind grain compass is leading him there. And Jill's like, okay, well, I'm going to go with you and Ulman, otherwise you're going to get yourselves killed. Then there was a hopeless amount of skeletons.
Like, actually hopeless amount of skeletons.
Yes.
Doing big boy damage, and there was enough skeletons to really, just kind of clog up the initiative order. So yeah, it got to the point where, of course Jill, being Jill, was like, oh, we should turn back. And Ish and Owen were like, no, let's just keep going, let's just break through. And Jill's like, okay. And then the turns kept by, and the HP kept getting whittling down, and I'm like, okay, just gotta wait for it to be my turn. I can cast Cure Wounds, or I can do Healing Word. I can do something. Oh shit. Okay, Albus is down. Well, okay, I gotta figure out how I'm gonna do my turns. Oh shit, my HP is getting really low. I'm on 4 HP. Fuck, I'm down. And then,
The coup de grace.
Them fucking skellies, man, they just wanted my life force. So, yeah, Jill was taken out. R.I.P. First character death for your girl, Kylen.
But we did manage to get her to a safe location with some utility of ore.
I don't like the way you said that.
I think the exasperated sigh was perfectly placed. It was resentful.
I still don't like the way you phrased it.
And yeah, we took her down to Albus's BBEG and got her resurrected.
Which was, honestly, for me as a player, a super cool scene for Jill, where, as you listeners may know, her deity is Umberlee, who she does not like very much because Umberlee has her in a hostage situation, basically. Got to have a confrontation with her where, she's basically like, fuck you, flipping the bird. And as she thinks she's about to, be sent to the abyss to drown forever, is given a second chance on life with a whole new deity. May or may not be Tharsden, but that's fine. It's all good. It's okay if we break some chains, right? Like, this guy just has a bad rap.
Meanwhile, Albus is out here just like, no, all the gods suck. And the aboleth that is worshiping this god, he really sucks.
Not only does he suck, but he's a heretic.
Yeah, that's poison. That's poison. You can't even kill him to get rid of it, because he'll just respawn.
Yeah, so Jill has got a whole new hand tattoo, a whole new lease on life. Just ready to kick ass and take names.
So yeah, that was our Ghost of Saltmarsh game.
It's been real fun. Not at all like the module was intended, probably. Indoors, just kind of doing the wobbly hand.
In Spanish, the phrase they use is más o menos. More and less.
I am also in another game on Indoor's channel, The Four Keeps, where I play another sad character.
Arjan is way more sad than Albus is. Albus is sad because you look at everyone else's stats and then you look at his. Arjan is sad because you feel bad for him.
Give Albus a few more levels so he can experience more trauma, okay?
Or kill him so I can respec.
The deed is done.
But yeah, Arjan, he's doing stuff. He died again.
Oh, God damn it.
He died again fighting off Dendar the Night Serpent. That kind of sealed away his patron who kept also resurrecting him. So that's fun. Right now, we're digging into LB's character's backstory. She just became the Hokage of her Goliath tribe.
She became the Hoagie.
A lot of other stuff happened there, like Corey's now a Revenant. Kylen lost one of his legs and replaced it with a bean plant.
Wow, you're really just glossing over these details.
Also, Revenant Corey lost her arm by trying to reach through a dimension door?
Yeah.
Yep, she tried to reach through a dimension door. Now her arm's chopped off.
Indoor, why are you taking people's limbs?
Would you rather me take their lives?
I mean, you've already done that twice with Arjan.
Yet all of his limbs are intact. Do you see the correlation?
He actually has 2 extra.
See? The DM taketh and giveth.
Spare tire? Nah, spare limb, baby.
Gotta keep one on hand.
Yeah, so Arjan's growing some wings now, and during our last episode, he finally got to use them.
Yay.
My Misty Step gave him shadow wings, and he just like leapt and then disappeared and then did the Reaper thing.
I loved how you flavored that, by the way, where it's like they extended out, he rushed forward, and then and then reappeared in front of somebody, just sup. Gah! Gah! Rad as hell.
I've been holding on to that one for a while, but I really like how we were talking about flavoring things to better fit a narrative and all of this. We're definitely going to be looping back to this in the second half of the episode.
Good.
But yeah, right now, you and I are having conversations about him possibly starting up Acquisitions Incorporated in this world.
Oh my god.
There is already 2 rival corporations for you.
Great.
One of which you've already made enemies with. So, like, it's not too bad.
But yeah, he's finally talked with 1/5 of Tiamat.
Which fifth?
The blue one.
Oh, the blue fifth. Yes.
Yes.
So, for all of you listeners out there in my homebrew campaign, Tiamat is a J-pop idol group.
Oh my god.
The greatest, most lovable dragon that there ever was one. And the blue portion is the PR manager / like head contact for the idol group.
Oh yeah, Tiamat. Tiamat's great. Yeah, I can get you in with Tiamat.
Well, it's because Arjan made in her perspective, a few too many calls with significantly less promises to back up the kind of blessings he was asking for.
That's the thing, because like Arjan didn't have a lot of like guidance going into this. His Abishai acquaintance and his dragon progenitor / dad were just like, yeah, Tiamat's cool. Here's a book on her like ideology, which he had a few nights to like read through. And they were just like, okay. Oh, I have cleric powers now. How does this work? I don't have anybody to like tell me how to do this. Yo, Tiamat. You there? It's me, Arjan. Is that it for stream games?
I think so.
That's it for me.
Okay. Any home games indoor?
Home
Or
games.
or offline?
I have a casual Friday group. At least that's what we call that. Either that or witches and warlocks. Because whenever we say warlock in our home game, it's always as Tim Curry from the Scooby-Doo movie, where it was he played the son of a witch. Do you know what a male witch is? A warlock. So whenever it's like, okay, with source, what are your spellcasters? Druids, clerics, bards, sorcerers, warlock. Like, warlock is always said as Tim Curry saying warlock.
Hang on. Tim Curry was in the Scooby-Doo movie?
Scooby-Doo and the
He's in,
Witch's
like,
Ghost?
8 of them.
Oh my god.
Tim Curry is an incredulous voice actor because it's like, why are you're like 8 different people in this movie. You're like 19 different people in this franchise. How did I not pick up on this as a kid?
All right, guys, time to quit what we're doing with Let's Talk About It. We are now the Tim Curry Power Hour. We are all things Tim Curry. We're going to keep discussing this till the
Hello,
wheels fall
everybody,
off.
and welcome to the Tim Curry Cast, the audio podcast that we like to do here at Let's Talk About It NPR.
So what kind of curry are we eating, everybody?
Yellow curry. I love yellow curry so much.
Yes, a nice yellow curry or green curry even.
But, okay, how about this? What is the first movie that you remember watching with Tim Curry in it, even if you didn't know it was Tim Curry at the time?
I don't know what movies Tim Curry is in.
Rocky Horror.
Ferngully. He was the voice of Hexus, the ooze monster.
Oh, I don't think I've
Double
ever,
shifts, no breaks.
I don't think I've ever seen Ferngully all the way through.
Feels.
The first, I guess, that I've ever cognizantly remembered was Rocky Horror, but I'm sure it was something before that.
Clue. He did a great job in Clue.
I did see Clue.
I didn't see the Clue movie.
Oh, Clue. Okay, so sidebar. Clue was excellent, mostly because they released 3 different cinematic versions.
Oh, that's cool.
Well,
Yeah.
actually, yeah, no, 3 different cinematic versions. And then when they released it on VHS, they included all of them together as well as on DVD. So what people would do is that the company sent different versions of the movie to different movie theaters. So if your friends saw Clue, they'd be like, oh, the butler did it. And you would be like, no, you dumb, the internet doesn't exist. You can't prove me wrong that it wasn't Mr. Green. Like, it was specifically meant to cause that weird amount of chaos within viewers. Whereas now you just like, movie has 3 different endings. And send tweet. Like,
that's cool.
yeah, so they tried something new, and Tim Curry was the butler in Clue. And oh, god damn it, I love Tim Curry so much.
Why are we making this podcast where we eat curry and talk about Tim Curry?
Yes!
To quickly answer that question, it's God, I guess it's one of the Rugrats movies because apparently he's in that.
What the fuck? He's in a Rugrats movie?
He was Nigel
He's
Thornberry.
Nigel Thornberry.
Oh my god! Then it was probably definitely the Wild Thornberries.
But no, apparently he's in like
Smash
all the Rugrats movies. I'm just scrolling through Wikipedia right now.
Yeah. No, look, Tim Curry, if you're listening, you are a very talented actor. We
Friend
love
of the
you.
channel, Tim
Friend
Curry.
Friend of the channel, Tim Curry here. That's what he sounds like, apparently.
He was in the Beauty and the Beast Christmas movie.
I think he was the organ.
He was the fucking organ.
I knew it. So, backtracking.
So your witches and warlocks.
So our Witches and Warlocks Casual Friday game. I recycle characters. That's another thing that I am totally okay with admitting. There is a character that the 4 Keeps have not yet encountered that I play almost every other week. A Firbolg Warlock named Fig.
Oh no.
Big.
He's a good boy. He's so sweet.
Oh no. Well, I know that we have a very high chance of meeting him in the next episode, so
Maybe not the next one because you guys want to have a shit ton of downtime, but soon, possibly within the arc. So yeah, no, Fig, I play him. I blame Matt Mercer for ruining Firbolg accents because every time I see one, oh, hi there, how's it going? Oh, it's me. Hey, it's Fig. How are you?
I'm from
Just like, my husband died. I'm a widow. Oh, so your name's Widow? That seems a little poignant, but how's it going? No! Like, because in the description for Firbolgs, Firbolg names are whatever people call them. So if somebody around my character says, my name is X, Or like I am X. He's just like, oh, hi, single parent of 3. How are you doing today? Like, he will just call you what you say that other people call you. That game is so incredible because the person running it, as her job title, my dear friend Rose, who has like an online Etsy store, but they used to run the convention circuit with their art. Hold on just a second, because I have a thing over here. Oh God, with a light. Hello, cat.
Kitty! He's going to get the thing.
One of my absolute favorite pieces of art is something that my friend Rose did, which for you audiocast listeners, it looks like a spirit of a turnip hanging out next to a potted plant with like other little spirit things. And then there's also like fun shadows and colors. They are a full-time animator in downtown of the city where I live. And we have played with her for like a year and a half. And she was always like, oh, I want a DM, but I don't know how to get into it. I don't know if my stories would be any good. Like, I don't know if people would want to play it. And we were all just like, shut the fuck up and run our game. Like, run this game for us. You're awesome. You can do this.
You were DMing.
And so, I mean, how else do you get other people to DM besides like berating them nonstop because you secretly just want to play in more games and not run so fucking many? But that group started with Tomb of Annihilation that we started on the day that I got foot surgery because I had a unknown growth on the tendon of my right ankle that was causing me pain whenever I walked. So I made my first character for that game just destroyed on pain meds because I legitimately came out of surgery earlier that day. And hey, guess what? That is where you guys got one of your most beloved NPCs.
Fangzest?
Fangzest. You want to know what his original name was going to be? Wyoming Smith. Totally not Indiana Jones.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so Fangzest, much better name. But I was like, I want to be a fighter who uses a whip, but like also strong. Because any kind of finesse weapon, you can use strength or dex. So I had 20 strength and was just whipping the shit out of people. The first session that we had of that game, my buddy, my friend James and I, who I refer to as James because James would imply that there are multiples of them and there is only one James.
Of course.
We were watching dinosaur races because we were playing Tomb of Annihilation, and we were drinking out of the Las Vegas style liquor bowls that are wider than your shoulders. And after my dinosaur won, I was like, I hit him in the face with my bowl. Oh shit, I rolled a natural 20. Because I'm a half-orc, that includes Reckless Critical, where I rolled double damage on things. So I almost dropped my friend. Like, I smashed him in the face with a bowl. He almost died. Our game went by in Tomb of Annihilation until we reached a point where there was a bunch of spiders in a forest, and our party said, fuck all these spiders, we're burning the webs, not realizing that webs were flammable. They lit the forest on fire, and 5 out of 7 of the players died.
Oh, no.
Please donate to the Amazon.
Please donate to the Amazon
Fund.
Apparently it rained there and helped like extinguish a bunch of the fires, which was super cool. But like that doesn't stop the deforestation. Please, for the love of God, support the Amazon. It is the lungs of our goddamn planet.
Please, we need to breathe.
Put the link down below, Super Connor.
But yeah, so we were playing Tomb of Annihilation, lit a forest fire. Most of us died. Players that were running away, we had to have a talk at our table. Do we want to keep playing Tomb? Or we had already said, like, hey, after Tomb is done, Indoor, would you want to run Curse of Strahd? Like, okay. And so during that moment, it was like, hey, do we want to switch from playing Tomb of Annihilation to then playing Curse of Strahd? And our players were like, yeah, that sounds fine. So the DM and I both stood up out of our chairs, swapped places, and then started playing Curse of Strahd. And the way that we had it worked was that the smoke and the billowing fumes coming out of the forest following the players ended up wreathing around their legs, surrounding them in this smoke, but then it stopped smelling smoky and started smelling more humid, and it was cold, and the ground beneath their feet was no longer forest, but was instead just like this damp grass, and these players just found themselves in Barovia. And then I had Escher leading Strahd's wives roll up and be like, ha! So you're the new sacrifices to Barovia. Welcome.
Sir?
Sir, this is a rainforest.
So
it's a rainforest cafe.
So that is when I had my first weird interaction as a DM with Curse of Strahd. Because I brought players in from Tomb of Annihilation, the characters from Tomb had one goal. Leave. At any cost, because the two players that survived were a chaotic neutral goblin ranger and a necromancer. So when they got to the black carriage that led you to Strahd's castle, they were like, that seems like it'll lead us to Strahd's castle. Hey, Irina! Irina, you should get in this thing! And they just straight up served Strahd Irina on a platter and were like, now can we leave?
Damn.
The narrator. They did not leave. Because then a character died fighting Escher inside of Castle Ravenloft. Ismark, who was supposed to be their companion, was like, you've got my sister, you son of a bitch. And Strahd just went, lol, disintegrate, you are ash.
Ooh.
Anybody else want to fuck with me? Cool. Well, player's like, nope. It's good. This is fine. And so then at the end of that campaign, we all had a TPK. A couple DMs later, our friend, the animator, was like, hey, I want to run a game for you guys. I think it'd be really cool. And so we berated her into running a game for us. And because she does animation, she's a really good artist. So every area that we have had is like hand-drawn art that's like super stylized. It feels like going through a module.
Ooh.
But it's their first time ever DMing and first time ever making a dungeon. But like everything's balanced. Everything makes sense as to where it is. The dungeon makes sense. The rooms make sense. Everything about it makes sense. And so it's like, what? Have you been fucking sharking us? Have you been like, are you like a DM shark? Like, I've never run games before, guys. By the way, here's this great game. And like the only thing that would belay that she is not experienced is because it's like, I want to check this thing. And she will look to either myself or my other friend and be like, what would I roll for this?
No.
So like she has everything else planned, but as like far as familiarity with rolls goes, not very sure. But we have maybe 2 more sessions with that, and then it's going to come to an end. And then depending on availability, I'm probably going to be DMing it, which would be that I run 3 games a week and play in 1.
Ooh. Busy.
Always.
Busy.
Forever busy.
Mm-hmm.
Which honestly might lead us into homebrew stuff.
Well, Kylen and I also have a couple of homebrew games going on. Not all of them are 100% active right now.
Did you become a god?
Did I become a god?
I know there was like your Curse of Strahd, like hunter god, but then didn't that happen again recently, like less than 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, so I ended a home campaign that was going on for like 2 years.
Oh damn.
We haven't been talking about it on the podcast for a minute, but yeah, we sunset one of our campaigns where it was a sort of like modern sci-fi flair of D&D, where like all the magic was actually like genetic engineering and stuff.
Okay.
Um,
Nanomachines.
about a year ago, one of my characters like perma-died and was sort of just like this lingering consciousness that could still interact with like phantasmal force and like spells like that. But I wanted to bring his story to an end by like fading into this desert oasis, which was like very pivotal to its like entire character arc, this desert. And he just began like interacting with everybody who was getting high on narcotics.
As you do.
He was a user. Like one of his ways to calm down was that whenever he was in this gang, he would use this stimulant, which would essentially like slow down time, like give him more reaction time, and that really helped him out as a gunslinger. And he would use it every now and then in the campaign.
You high nooned.
Yeah, he high nooned. But whenever he let his consciousness fade into this thing, he just became a lot more in tune with like people who were using narcotics and stuff.
Okay.
I had another character come in after this 15-year time skip, who was essentially left out in the desert to die after a riot happened in his hometown. And so he was just wandering the desert until he like passed out from exhaustion. And this group from the desert like carried his body to an oasis, and as per their tradition, doped him up so that the transition to death would be a lot easier on him. But that provided a pathway for my previous character, Jason, to save him and also make him this world's first druid.
Hey.
Okay.
So that went on. He went and joined up with Jason's previous party, who were like the saviors of the world, and stopped some planar destructive stuff from happening. And then we quickly phased that out. I was going to do this like whole thing where like he doesn't know where his powers came from. He doesn't have a lot of control over that, so he couldn't use like most of his druid powers for narrative reasons. Nothing ever really came of it, so I was just crippling myself.
As you do.
Which is always fun.
So I also did want to say, as a brief, minuscule sidebar about Narcotics Gunslinger, did you know alcohol is technically a performance-enhancing drug in competitive shooting?
Alcohol is a performance-enhancing drug in software engineering, so I definitely believe it.
Sir? Can you say that here?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
On live podcasting?
Absolutely.
Content cop, arrest this man.
Oh my god.
Have you ever heard of the Balmer Peak?
Excuse me?
The Balmer Peak.
No.
Okay, so it's this graph, okay? It's this graph, and it says programming skill, and that's the y-axis, and the x-axis is blood alcohol concentration, and it's a steady decline until you hit the Balmer Peak, that point where you have so much blood alcohol content that your programming skill is off the charts, and then it quickly fades away.
Sober Connor, if you're feeling productive, please put this chart for the listeners so they can understand.
It's from an XKCD comic.
All right.
But yeah, I had a gunslinger that became a god, and I had a ranger and a druid who didn't know he was a druid. even though he had 10 levels of it.
How was that wisdom score?
Wisdom score was like 18.
Are you sure about
But-
that?
I mean, like, druids weren't a thing in this world. So like he didn't know that he could like use magic. Sometimes things would just happen while he was like really high, but then his party was just like, you need to stop doing drugs. Also, you can do magic, but you just don't believe you can.
I do when I'm doing drugs.
Real funny, guys.
But yeah, that's not one that's one that's offline and one that nobody else here is a part of. But yeah, Kylen and I also have a couple of homebrew games going on. Ethan's running one in Adora,
Mm-hmm.
where right now we are going to try to find Ginger Bendy's characters from the channel. Ginger Bendy, pew, 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 pew. We're gonna find his parents who are being held hostage by giants.
Yes.
But we got to cross an ocean. But before that, we're walking straight into a like siege of a city that my dead sister might be the tactician for.
Who knows?
Last.
My dead werewolf sister being this tactician for all these orcs.
Ow.
That's fun. And then I'm running a game that I haven't prepped for in like a month, over a month, which is sort of like, what would Eberron be if like I didn't have to stick to any of the lore of Eberron and just use all the pieces that I liked? If the last war was actually the Dawn War, where Vecna ascended, but like with cool artificer shit.
Yes, good.
So like imagine Vecna with like Magic the Gathering, like sorcerer steampunk gauntlets.
I was gonna say, like, just because Vecna removed hand and eye does not mean that they couldn't have been like mechanical though. You just have to like remove the hand, whether or not you replace it.
Replace it with machine guns.
So like
I am Cyber Vecna.
pretty much. I'm Cyber Vecna. That's it.
Cyber Vecna sounds cool as shit, and I want 10.
But like, yeah, it's. I took all the things that I liked, and I'm like, bleh, do stuff. That's a game that I think is the same group for all three of these games. It's Ethan, Kylen, myself, Ginger Benji, and friend of the channel, Osqueef, BPB. I haven't prepped for this game. Like, the very last thing that I did was just like, I knew everybody wanted to do like, or most everybody wanted to get into a situation where they could screw over a rich guy. And so I'm like, I don't really know how I'm going to do this. But then I was thinking of a story about Jesse James that my father told me, which was notorious criminal Jesse James out in the wilderness one night goes across this house that this old widow is staying at and asks for shelter for the night. And she's like so sweet, lets him in and everything. And he asks her like, look, is there anything going on in your life like that I can help with? And she's like, oh no. Well, my husband did die, and like I have to like pay off his funeral money or like something. She had to pay some like post-mortem fees to an insurance company, and they were going to come within the next couple of days. but like that's not his problem. She just wants him to be safe, not be out in the woods at night, whatever. He's like, okay, I'm going to give you all this money that he had stolen from a bank. I'm going to give you this money to pay it off. Whenever they come, hand them this money. It's fine. Don't worry about it. You did me a good service. But whenever you hand them the money, make sure you get a receipt. And so she's like, okay, I'll make sure you get a receipt, but is it okay if I take all this? And she's like, yeah, don't worry about it. He leaves. Next couple of days, the people come and collect the money from the woman, and they write her a receipt because she specifically asked for it. So they leave and try to like go back to the office. Well, Jesse James corners them on the road, robs them fucking blind of all the money that he had originally stolen, and continues on his merry fucking way. And eventually the people who were trying to collect the money to go back to the lady and just like, look, we don't have the money anymore. We're going to need you to pay this again. And she's like, I got a receipt.
That's why you always have the receipts.
Project voice, I have the receipts.
God damn it.
But yeah, I tried to set up a situation like that, but it's a weird like reversal of it. I don't know how it's going to play out because I haven't prepped for it. Instead, EJ the Grey has been running a different game for us, Masks.
Yeah, which we talked about in the Gen Con episode, because Ethan and I played some Masks and then really fell in love with playing the system. So Ethan was like, I'm going to run a game. And so now we did a little one shot, and then we're like, let's just ride this out until we, want to do something else. So that's been fun. We did one session so far, but it was good.
What are your guys' powers?
So,
do you want to go first?
Sure, mine's obvious. My litmus test for any RPG system is AWU.
I'm so happy.
So
damn it.
Enchilada is werewolf.
So, like in Numenera, the character focus House at the Moon, right up my alley.
AWU.
And in Masks, I created a soldier character, and one of their abilities can be an alternate / monstrous form. AWU.
Oh.
So his name is Hunter Argent, or his codename is Aconite, and he is part of this world's version of Shields. They have an initiative called the Wolfsbane Initiative, where in a previous generation there was this superhero called Wolfsbane, and he is transformed, like he's stuck in his werewolf form. And Hunter is the 539th experiment to create a super soldier that's like more in control of this monstrous form. And that's me.
Quizzical question.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen the Netflix original series Love, Death, and Robots?
Nope.
There is a standalone. So all of the episodes are standalone, but one of them is specifically that there is actually an AWU brigade for the United States military.
I could see it.
It's a good show. I mean, from that one episode that I watched, it was fun, but
AWU.
AWU. What about you, Kylen? What's your power?
So my character's playbook was the Reformed, which basically is you used to be a supervillain, and now for whatever reason you return to the side of good. and my character's superhero name is Miasma. And basically, she spits poison out of her mouth.
I am oddly familiar with that term, but we can get into that later on in the episode.
Yeah, so she's just a big old meanie with a chip on her shoulder that is aligned with the good guys for her own convenient reasons, and just blurps out little poison loogies on people.
Yeah. Really excited to jump back into that world later today.
Yeah.
Oh.
Can't wait for that.
But I think that's it for our games. So, yeah, we're gonna cut to break.
Yes.
I have an idea for the break screen.
Lay it on me.
Can you just play animal noises and then just have the mascot for the Rainforest Cafe? Sir, this is a Rainforest Cafe.
Why do I picture just a fucking jaguar? That's it. Or like an ocelot.
It's a tree frog. Ribbit.
Moo. Ah, woo.
Forest.
Point.
Okay, we gotta stop.
Craw.
Come motherfucking craw!
Welcome back from the Rainforest Cafe. I hope you enjoyed your wild quesadillas or whatever they serve there.
I know they have a cinnamon cookie. I hope that you enjoyed your cinnamon cookie.
I think my one time to the Rainforest Cafe, I got I think it was mahi mahi. I knew mahi mahi was on the menu, but I don't think I would have gotten it.
Did they have one at the zoo?
No, I got shrimp tempura.
Ooh.
But this was at Disney World.
Disney World.
Disney World.
Hope you enjoyed the lovely scenic animal sounds and thunder and lightning recreations. Welcome back to Let's Talk About It, the show where we talk about it. And you shut up and listen.
Quick sidebar. The one time I went to Disney World, I saw somebody do the thing where they walked out of the bathroom and they had a trail of toilet paper on their shoe. That's it. That's the story, but I saw it in real life. It happened.
That happens to people.
Hey, it happened to the President of the United States.
Which one?
This one.
That's not surprising.
All right, that's as political as we're getting today. Can't talk about that.
Nope.
So yeah, I wanted to talk about homebrew because whenever I left Gen Con, to wrap us up into our last episode, I tweeted out a list of things that I want to do, and a lot of those were published D&D content. And a lot of my frustration with that was that I couldn't really come up with anything original, anything that was either I couldn't flavor with what was already existed, or just other excuses that I was making for myself. And then I bought a $25 PDF that didn't have all of its own mechanics printed out on the page, even though it was referenced 4 times in the book by Cybrwulf1201. And then I was just I'm a dummy. People are out here making good money releasing content that isn't even complete. Let me try. So while you are here indoor, because I know you have a lot of experience, number one, running multiple homebrew games, and I know for our particular game, you're coming up with a homebrew wizard subclass for our dear friend of the channel, R Justice, PPP, to use. And Kylen, you have experience playing in a lot of homebrew games.
Wow, I sure do.
So yeah, What are y'all experiences with homebrew?
One of the things that I said on break that I will gladly repeat going into this segment is I, for the longest time, didn't know that you weren't supposed to make homebrew content when you made anything relating to a tabletop RPG game. The first game I ever played was 3.5. I don't even remember what I played. We went to a bar and talked to some people, and I told my mom about what happened on the car ride home from the game shop because I'm pretty sure I was playing Adventurers League, and she didn't like the fact that I was going to a bar and I was underage. So I was quickly told that I could not play Dungeons and Dragons, but because my nearest neighbor was 3 miles away, it's not exactly like I could have said, I'm just going to play with the kids in the cul-de-sac. They didn't exist. So my first game, I remember we went to a bar. I'm not sure if it was homebrew, but then the next game that I played was also at an Adventurers League style game. I played a Dwarven Tempest Cleric in 4th edition. His name was Hagen of the Daws, because I was bad at Dungeons and Dragons and really hungry for ice cream. But I didn't like the way that the table was being run. So, like, just initially, I could tell, like, I don't like these other players. They're being kind of weird and unhelpful, and the DM, I'm not sure why maybe if I just didn't have these other players, I would like him, but they seem like regulars, so I'm just going to leave. And I ended up purchasing the 4th edition Player's Handbook and thought to myself, this is all I need. I can make an entire setting out of this. How hard could it be? You dumb motherfucker. You absolute dum-dum. So I continued on of just like, I'm gonna read this from front to back. The narrator, he didn't. But I will read this from front to back and I will make my own setting. And as I was about halfway through, I had a friend show up and like ended up like talking to this girl and her being like, hey, my husband runs, like, he's a DM. Would you be interested in playing? And even though 4th edition was out, I played a 3.5 campaign. And I both loved and hated it. I loved it because this was my first regular roleplay experience that wasn't a forum roleplay, in which case forum roleplay was either you playing as characters from video games, or I was part of a forum roleplay that was OCs. It started on DeviantArt as this one person who made like .hack looking characters. And then I joined the forum roleplay group that they started. And so my roleplay experience was always homebrew settings, even down to forum roleplay. And so then in D&D, where the first group that I was a part of for levels like 1 through 13 was all homebrew. Everything was homebrew. And then I didn't play D&D for a while. There is a part that I actively think about and laugh at myself about, which is I was asked if I wanted to play D&D while I was actively playing Magic the Gathering. And I thought to myself, who would ever, in their right mind, choose Dungeons and Dragons over the thrill of blood sport that is Magic the Gathering?
You silly, silly boy.
Dense motherfucker. So, of course, now you can find me 4 nights a week playing Dungeons and Dragons on Twitch. None of them Friday! So I played in a homebrew campaign then, and that even went through 2 different dungeon masters because one of them got a different schedule. So one of our friends who was in our group was like, I shall overtake dungeon mastering. And she was the first person that actively was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I just tell you guys to roll stuff and you do, and then you enjoy playing the game. So I guess I'm doing it right. I was like, oh, that makes sense. So I played in that, and then it wasn't until years later that a buddy was like, hey, we don't play Magic the Gathering anymore. Would you like our buddies offering to run a game starting at level 1? Do you want to play in it? I said, okay. Like, because my buddy was dating a woman at the time who would eventually become his wife, and I was with an ex-girlfriend who was an ex for a reason. And we were like, all right, let's play Dungeons and Dragons. And I made a tiefling rogue named Odd. But that wasn't his real name, because tieflings, especially a charlatan like I was, had to have secret names. So I named, again, one of my first memorable D&D characters was named, he was Hagen of the Dawes. My second character, I was playing a lot of Tekken versus Street Fighter at the time, so my next character was named Raiden. As a druid, he was a wood elf druid, and his pet bear cub was named Kuma, which just means bear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're weebs. We understand.
Yes. So Raiden and Kuma ended up accidentally waking up a chimera, and a chimera threw up on them with acid, and they both died. So I made the next character, which that was my first little sniff, my first huff of the chaotic evil.
Oh boy.
I made a chaotic evil fighter. His name was Havoc, but you spelt it with a K, because I in IRL
Like the engine?
am bad at spelling. Yes, like the engine. I thought that was how you spelled Havoc.
Whoa, guys, we got a cool guy alert. Cool guy alert here.
Yeah, so I thought that was how you spelled Havoc. I played him through until level 13. One of my favorite moments was with that character. So in 3.5, there was a mechanic that was called massive damage. So if you dealt 50 damage or more in a single hit, there was a fraction of a chance that you could kill something outright. So my character, with a keen mercurial lance that can crit on a 15 or higher.
Jeez.
3.5 is fucking banana shoes. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So my character who can crit on a 15 or higher pops up his lance on his horse, charges at a dragon, one-shots it. My character's name was Havoc Blood Mist. He was in college and really drunk, and also that sounded metal as hell.
Cool guy alert. Whoa.
He had a sword made out of orcs. He killed an entire orc village and pounded their bodies to get the iron enough to make a sword that would then allow him a racial bonus when fighting orcs.
Hate that.
Oh, he was dumb. He was stupid. His backstory was that he couldn't read, so he decided to worship the god Erethnol to kill all the people who made fun of him for not being able to read. But Havoc killed a dragon in one shot and then found 3 dragon eggs, and our DM was like, oh, there's 3 party members. This player will clearly give everyone a dragon egg so they can all become dragon riders. And I was like, no, I am the Khaleesi. I am the mother of dragons. I made a leathered papoose to carry all of the dragons against my chest while I had this large greatsword that I fucking killed people with. He was a vocal worshiper of Vecna, very proudly in the middle of town squares, and be like, I worship the god of secrets.
That's not a secret.
No, it wasn't. But so I played that for 2 years. My buddy introduced me to a campaign where I played a tiefling named Odd that I would go from levels 1 through 20. And over that time, I was introduced to Sir Lucian, who introduced, I actually, before I even met Sir Lucian via Twitch, that is when the first time I met a module was. and it was one that I ran, and it was Storm King's Thunder. Storm King's Thunder is not the module you want to run if it's your first time.
It's not. Chapter 3 gets rough.
Fuck There's an entire separate Let's Talk About It that is strictly me hating Chapter 3 of Storm King's Thunder for 2 hours.
Yeah, so when are you free?
No, so but the 1 through 5 year campaign, I love. So that is the epitome of homebrew for me. Is I played in a homebrew setting, levels 1 through 20. You cannot really ask for more of a homebrew nature for that, besides obviously running it for yourself, which was why I wanted to bring up, Kylen, you said miasma earlier.
Yeah.
That word got ruined for me.
Oh no.
There was a series of months where our characters spent in limbo, and every time a magical aura, essence, miasma, fog would wash over us, our DM picked the phrase miasma every single time, to the point where he was like, "You sensei," and all of us put our heads in our chins and just went miasma. He was like, "There's a miasma heading towards you guys." Like, it was the equivalent of J.J. Abrams' wife telling J.J. Abrams, "You use too much lens flare in your movies, calm the fuck down." And then him being like, "I don't use too much." Oh my god, I use too much lens flare.
Shit.
It was the equivalent of that. So you being like, "Yeah, I could breathe miasma from my mouth." It was like cold sweats. Anything but that word.
Demon. Witch.
Demon.
All right, so I just got inspired to write a homebrew module to run on Indoor's channel, and I know what word I'm going to be using a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Yucky. No, so that was my main experience, was that everything except the modules in 3.5. I didn't realize that there were modules for these games, because I did a stint in Vampire the Masquerade when I was in college. I played like 2-3 sessions. I was a vampire pie maker because bakers need to be up at very early hours. So it made sense as to why my character, Thomas Fowler, would be up at such odd hours. But he was literally using his Raven familiar to fly out, find dudes who were smoking weed and just like regular parks, and offer them fresh baked goods in exchange for some blood. And because they were stoned, and his skills were in deception, and then because vampire was deception in quotation marks, it was deception pies. So yeah, even my stint in vampire was homebrew. My stint in Hunter the Vigil, I love Hunter. I would love to play Hunter again. I was playing a hacker. My DM and I had differences about what my character could do. Slash how... That is the one time I talked about it in one of my Simple and Keen videos, but I was a hacker. I enjoy playing support characters. Let me play a support character and I will be happy. My DM saw Steven likes to play support characters, but what if he could play the brute force character? I'm gonna make him the brute force character.
No, I don't wanna.
My favorite moment of that campaign was me hacking a train to cause the train cars to separate, so that way we could get away scot-free in the first train car, while the second ones behind us broke away because I was able to use my hacker skills and not confront vampires. My least favorite moment of that campaign was when my character died.
Oh.
Rightly so, he fucked up. The party members brought him back to life by exorcising a demon who was still alive, taking out his soul and then shoving it into my character. And then my party members killed me because my DM actively took away my agency by speaking for my character as a split personality.
Ooh.
So that
Cringe.
campaign ended with me getting shot in the back by my own party members while at the table for something I didn't do.
Ooh.
Mm.
No.
Even
me,
that
no.
game was homebrew. Literally did not play a module until 5th edition, so I just thought everybody played homebrew.
Yeah, so I also had that preconception back whenever I only had Pathfinder to go off of. A good friend of mine, Camille does D&D of Open for Adventure, friend of the channel, pew, pew, pew.
Beep, beep, beep.
Whenever I was interning, she decided to run Pathfinder for all of us, and it was a good time. And it was just homebrew, just like us figuring out what was happening in this big old city, and its ruler and everything. It was a fun time, and then I immediately got inspired to, hey, I'm gonna run something else. And it's funny how you mentioned like how much of a mistake it was to run D&D 3.5 or 4th edition or 3.5 out of just buying the player's handbook.
4th edition.
4th edition.
It was 4E that I tried being like, I got this. I know what a dwarf is.
But it's really funny that you say that, because all I had was the core rules from Pathfinder that I could Google. But like, I still had, I was really excited to do that, because again, I thought that every game that people ran was homebrew. I ended up running something for Kylen and Ethan and some other and some other people. It didn't end. It sort of just fell by the wayside. But whenever I went back to intern again, I decided, hey, I can run 2 games of Pathfinder simultaneously in the same world, and it went really well. And it was really great having like what one group did sort of like impact the other. Literal bridges that they burned showing up in the other game, and other political situations like sort of making people mistrustworthy of adventurers. Yeah, that was really cool. Of course, now after having run Curse of Strahd and Waterdeep Dragon Heist, I'm very spoiled and really like a lot of the modules that Wizards of the Coast released, and think that running those saves so much time and energy on my behalf. Part of the reason why we're not playing D&D later today is because I just haven't found the time to like sit down and come up with something that I feel like my players will enjoy. Whereas like whenever I was running Waterdeep Dragon Heist, even with all the changes I was making to reskin it for Iman, which you can get those player notes, or you can get those conversion notes by going to patreon.com/Cybrwulf1201.
Chill.
Yeah, even though I was putting in a lot of work to convert it, like I always knew that, hey, the book had something for my players, and it seemed like everybody was having a great time. But of course now it's just really hard for me, like running homebrew, to be like, okay, yeah, so you're in a new city, these people are around, do you want to do, okay, yeah, you'll run into this guy, he knows one of your characters. It's hard. And I did say I like a lot of the modules that Wizards of the Coast published. At one point I did try to run Princess of the Apocalypse and absolutely hated it because it's all one dungeon crawl. Same reason I'm not going to run Dungeon of the Mad Mage.
I want to run Dungeon of the Mad Mage. Will I? No. Do I want to?
There's a lot in Dungeon of the Mad Mage that's really cool. Like,
I love the items. I love the rooms.
some of the items are cool. Some of the rooms are cool.
Monsters fuck me up. They all cool.
I know there's like actual like civilizations down there. Like there's Skullport. There's like a college that a whole bunch of like magic users are at. There's an aboleth lair. There's a fucking space station.
Sir?
I ruined Dungeon of the Mad Mage for my 4th edition, or for my Pathfinder, because we were running Dungeon in 3.5, but as a Pathfinder, or no, it was 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
I played a Bard. Bards had the most broken ability in the entire game. Bardic Knowledge. There is a reason this skill is not in 4th edition or 5th edition. You basically gave yourself a shit ton of history points, and if you ever heard anything about anything, you could roll a Bardic Knowledge check. And if you got a certain number, you would learn about that thing. But because 3.5 had the ability where you could give yourself like a plus 18 on a roll with ranks and other like skill points and all of these other things.
Yeah.
It was my buddy's first time running D&D. And so he chose Tales from Undermount, or The Legend of Undermount, as his first adventure. And as we were going through everything that we encountered, he was like, oh, you see along the walls edifices of an old dwarven king. I want to roll Bardic Knowledge. I want to know who the king is. 30. In the 3.5 manual, it says that on a 30 or greater, you know all knowledge about a specific thing, including such obscure knowledge as a wizard's childhood nickname. And I kept rolling 25 to 30 on my Bardic Knowledge check against everything that we encountered, to the point where it was like, there are some traitors in the Underdark. You're not exactly sure who they might be. They might be this. They might be this. It could be this thing. Bardic Knowledge, 30. You know they're doppelgangers. Oh, fuck, y'all. I know that there are doppelgangers down here. Like,
Are bullets best class? Yes or yes?
And so, because it was my buddy's first time playing, he made me stop rolling Bardic Knowledge checks by having my character get teleported through the scary door.
Oh no.
And inside the scary door, it was a room full of beholders.
Bah.
And then if I apologized for rolling so many Bardic Knowledge checks, I could join the rest of the party.
Oh, he sent you to the bad timeout.
He maced you.
Yeah, but like it was his first time playing, and in retrospect, I was kind of being a dick, being like, I know you don't know anything about the Forgotten Realms. Who was this dwarven king? Was he?
Tell me, fool.
Tell me all. I have approximate knowledge of many things. So, Kylen, do you have any particular homebrew campaign stuff that you want to share? Any experiences?
Oh, sure. So much like you guys, pretty much all of my first experience was in homebrew, and I didn't get into modules until I was probably playing games for like 2 years before I ever played in my first module. Well, I guess it's not entirely true. I think whenever my boyfriend at the time was trying out Edge of Empire, he had like the starter set, and that had like a little mini adventure. So my knowledge was, okay, so when you buy a game, you get all the stuff, you get all the dice, and you get the rules and stuff, and you get like one little adventure, and that's it. That's as much as they give you, and you just kind of run free, and you make your own stuff. And, you know, this probably was because I was surrounded by, like, lots of talented game masters who were good at just like coming up with stuff on the fly, and creating their own little aspects of the world from the rules they were given. I mean, I was a little shit though whenever I first started playing any sort of games, because I would just make the meanest fucking characters, or I would like base them off of my friends in real life. Connor can attest to this. I made my druid and pathfinder based off one of our friends, who was a druid who could turn into bears with this bear companion, who had a hatred of centaurs and a love of chicken.
This seems oddly specific. I'm on board.
But no, I would I was making Mimi characters almost to, pretty much to the detriment of the story. Because, I didn't really know how to play games back then. I was just kind of goofing. But then my first experience with modules was the first time that I really played 5e, was whenever, friend of the channel, my fiance, EJ the Grey, decided to run Lost Mines of Phandelver, the introductory D&D 5e adventure. Yeah, and we played through that, and then at the end of it, we were like, okay, let's do something different. Let's do a homebrew campaign now that we're all kind of familiar. And I decided, well, not on purpose that I was going to be difficult, but I got really excited because after playing through Phandelver, I kind of got a taste of what, how to be a more structured player and how to contribute to a narrative and not take away from it, and how to be a team player and all that good stuff. So yeah, then after that I got really into D&D and the idea of making characters and stuff. So I know I really want to play a gnome bard, because the first time I played D&D before that, I played a gnome bard who only knew how to sing Piano Man.
I'm so proud, but I'm frowning, but I'm proud.
That was my entire character concept from the very first time I played D&D. So I wanted to do that character, but more fleshed out. So I was doing a lot of research into like gnomes and learning about their history and their culture and the types of gnomes. And I really got into the idea of chaos gnomes from like 3.5, which are just weird, crazy little creatures who like have this chaotic entropic energy, and their hair is wild colors and their eyes change colors according to their mood. And I'm like, I want to play one of those. And Ethan was like, this is 5e, we don't have those, what are you gonna? I'm like, I don't care, we're gonna make it work. So Ethan and I together took the 3.5 chaos gnome and kind of made it fit into how the racial bonuses of like 5e and the racial traits, and which was a lot of fun, and gave me my like a real good taste of like homebrew. Like, hey, it's not just making up stories, but you can make up like character races, and you can make up character classes, and you can pretty much just make up everything as long as it's kind of balanced and everyone agrees on it. So yeah, pretty much since then, I want to say that I've been pretty evenly split between playing modules and homebrew stuff. And there's aspects that I really appreciate about each. So, it's hard for me to say what I like more. Well, no, I will say this. I love homebrew whenever it's like really done right, because sometimes people can like kind of half-ass homebrew and kind of get really. Connor, do not point at yourself.
Slap your goddamn hand away.
No. But you know, people can kind of get kind of half-ass and kind of like meh, and get kind of like weird and dickish with the rules and like, no, this is my setting, you can't change from my story. And you know, that's not fun. But homebrew, whenever it's like really done right with like a DM that has like kind of a ground setting and a ground story, but is open to adapting and, you know, molding this world with the players as well and making them a part of the story without, you know, allowing them to like super derail it. You know, that whenever it has that nice perfect balance, to me is probably my favorite part of just like playing games in general, is this cooperative, collaborative homebrew experience. But if it's not that, then you know, maybe just like play a module.
So I really like how you touched on the fact that you and Ethan came together to create a homebrew version of the Chaos Realm for 5th edition.
Mhm.
Like your own homebrew conversion.
Yep.
You don't have any like other experience creating like player options, right?
Not me personally, but I know someone here who does. Two someones here who do.
Oh shit. Cyber, that's you twice, clearly.
So actually, for D&D December last year, I did release 3 player races for on D&D Beyond, and those were 5th edition conversions of races that had existed in either 3.5 or Pathfinder. And those were the Lupin, which are essentially the wolf version of Tabaxi.
Hello.
Hello.
And those were from 3.5. And the only reason that I picked it up was, or that I knew that they were a thing, was because AJ Pickett had done a video on them very recently at the time.
Friend of the show.
Beep, beep, beep.
I wish.
Right.
And the other 2 were the Dompier, which my conversion is essentially just Drow who can see undead, which I need to pick. I need to replace that racial ability so bad. I just haven't. But like sunlight sensitivity, resistance to charm, and everything, like they're basically fucking Drow. And this was just me like looking at the Pathfinder rules and like seeing what equivalents existed in 5th edition. And the last one was the Kitsune, which I essentially implemented as like sort of like they would get spells that would like be sort of equivalent to like the extra tail feature from Pathfinder. Like as you level up and get extra tails, you would get extra spells to go with them. I just sort of did that as like, as a tiefling, you would keep getting spells, and then you would be able to disguise self as a human. It was actually really cool because in another home game that Kylen and I played in, because I had these on D&D Beyond, another player in this game actually picked up the Kitsune and was using it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, that's actually really cool. How do you like it? How's it going? And he's just like, oh yeah, it's good. I'm like, I love it. You can find those on D&D Beyond right now. I don't have links to them, but if you're in my Discord, it's in the Cyber downloads thing. Eventually, I'll put them on DM's Guild. Once I redo the flavor text.
It's the hardest part.
But that was my first like attempt at making homebrew mechanics, but they were essentially just like a reflavor, reconversion of things that had already existed. I didn't do my first original homebrew thing. Well, either they were additional rules for like Matt Colville's strongholds and followers for like the Blood Hunter and the Artificer, or how to adapt those for like trains or not boats, airships. But I did create a player race, and it's called the Viath. Those of you who have gone through a Saltmarsh game know that my player character is an aboleth trapped in the human body.
Spoilers.
But while I was coming up for the mechanics of what aboleths would be, as I was twisting what existed in Rules as Written 5th edition to fit the narrative that I wanted, I'd come up with if I had my druthers, if I could like pick and choose the mechanics I would want, it would be like, water breathing, aboleth psionics. I would be able to use Mage Hand and detect thoughts and everything. Okay, so let me put all this together. But instead of like an aboleth, what if there was another version that descended from Krakens? And so eventually I ended up with this original concept for like these creatures that were like born into cults of the deep. And I put it on D&D Beyond, and someone actually was just like, oh my gosh, this is such a cool idea. And I was just like, validation. That's my only like experience with like publishing something, but like I've never added anything to DM's Guild or anything.
Connor, quick aside.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the new D&D Unearth Arcana classes?
Okay.
Speaking of Albus and Saltmarsh.
Oh, please, God, let me know.
All right.
So juicy.
So then, for those of you who don't know, D&D 5e likes to playtest new and exciting subclass and rules options with Unearthed Arcana. And these last versions were a sorcerer subclass called the Aberrant Mind, and a warlock option called the Voice in the Deep.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
So like essentially like the Kraken Warlock, but like more. Like it could also include Aboleth. And the Aberrant Mind, which is like, Beholders and Mind Flayers, which can also include Aboleth. My character is this Clash Jar, which is like psionic, who is like flavoring Bardic College of Whispers and the Sea Sorcery Unearthed Arcana, flavoring all of that as if they were psionic abilities or just things that an aboleth would create. And honestly, it's working pretty well. Like most of the abilities that he can choose like do make sense for the narrative that I'm going. These two subclasses were custom built for him. Like one of the options for Voice of the Deep is like you summon a spectral tentacle to go around and lash out at people, and that's literally how I'm flavoring my Mage Hand and my Ray of Sickness and everything. It's just like I lash out with spectral tentacles and poison people or shock people. And so I'm like, I'm doing all of this with what already exists, and not believing that I have an original concept. And then D&D goes and says, oh yeah, that thing that you're doing, here's that.
Who's to say that one of the 1,000 viewers on the first episode of Ghost of Saltmarsh on IndoorAdventures YouTube channel wasn't Jeremy Crawford?
Friend of the channel, Mike Merles.
Hey, Mike, Kate, Jeremy, Chris. Come on, hang out. I'll run a game for you. You tired of DMing? I'll run a game.
Wizards of Coast executive team, are you free to hang out this Thursday? Please hang out with me this Thursday when I am free this Thursday.
But if you're asking how I feel about the Unearthed Arcana, I I think that that both of them are really cool and are both dipping into psionics, which are something that eventually needs to show up in 5th edition. And yeah, it would be really cool, and may have definitely inspired me to work on another sort of original player concept.
Ooh.
Or player option. And hopefully I'll be able to figure out how to actually publish it on DM's Guild.
That's fair.
Homebrew, baby.
Now, Indoor, you have... I know at one point you did publish something on DM's Guild. I don't know if it's still up.
Yeah, no, it's still there.
Okay.
Yeah, I've made a couple bucks from it. It's pretty cool. It was a one-shot module for playing an all tiefling party for Hell Scouts camp.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Hell Scouts, you know, the tiefling summer camp where you learn to be your baddest self. It was originally only available on Patreon, but then I wanted to prove to myself that I could put something on the DM's Guild. And I did, and one of my top rated comments is, despite the grammatical errors, this is still a good module.
Thanks.
It's like, oh, that's fine.
An avocado.
Thanks. No, so yeah, I have something on the DM's Guild. You can look up Hell Scouts Camp, which is again like a Boy Scouts / Girl Scouts camp, but for tieflings to just, you know, maybe you take arts and dark arts and crafts. To say, like, there are loads of tiefling classes that you can take. And it has some other tieflings that you end up meeting. And one of the things that I do a lot with tieflings is that I know that they have their like vice and virtue names. I don't like those. Just name your tiefling something. It doesn't have to be like a vice or a virtue name. Like, it could literally be like, I'm Todd.
Todd the Teeth.
I'm Todd the Tiefling.
Squiggly.
Case in point, you guys ended up meeting a tiefling whose name was Parnell.
Hate.
In the Monday night game. And
Cursed.
Like, by the way, I have gained a new name. It is Peter.
Cursed.
Like,
Parnell.
because like the thing is like a tiefling, like a vice or virtue name feels like that is the ideal scenario name, where you have 2 tiefling parents.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are the child of a hellish contract and you're like, I'm a tiefling who had 2 human parents, they could have been doing the thing where you're a bump and they're like, little Emma, it's fine, and then sploot you out, and the next thing you know, it's just like, your name's not Emma, your name is Family Killer. Like, oh, I'm Family Killer Jones. That's a weird name.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, no.
And
And
ask about my family.
they're still alive. Little known fact. No, and like I put stuff on DM's Guild because I felt like it was more of a challenge to myself, kind of like in your way, where it was like, I want to see if people would be interested in like I have Patreon set up, but like I want to know if people would actually be interested in paying for adventures. Because I was overzealous when I set up Patreon and was like, I will deliver a new adventure every month. Like a liar.
See, that's the reason why my my Patreon is set up to only charge people whenever I publish something that's like paid for. Because I knew I wasn't going to be able to like do something every month.
No, for sure. No, but that was my first interaction with Patreon as an adventures thing. I've made a couple subclasses for things. One that I haven't published that I want to publish is for a warlock patron. Actually, because I don't feel like undead get enough of a good rep when it comes to being a warlock patron. Because like there's the Sword Coast Adventures, The Undying. I think it's okay.
Yeah, that's the consensus.
Is that like very flat? That's okay. One of the things that in the subclass, this is like a weird pseudo ad, but I made this class with a dear friend of the Indoor Adventures channel, Archangelic. We made this subclass while we were both working in a job that we hated. But one of the abilities that this class would have was that you could create soul gems. And soul gems were like health potions. The only problem is that you had the narrative context of you had to use a soul to make this. It didn't have any like mechanical repercussion, but it was one of those like every time you use this, you hand your DM a dagger.
Stabby.
Yeah, and like if your DM is the stabby type, like I am, then yeah, lots of stabs. But otherwise, you had other things that you could do. And like we also like posing it as more of like a spirit talker, like a seance kind of person, where you had ritual spells that you could use to like commune with the dead and speak with the dead and just be more on like an equivocal level versus being like, my patron is an undying lord, ergo zombies. It's like, I mean, that's okay. I wouldn't pick for it for myself. But the second subclass that I ever made is actually in our Monday night game, which is the School of the Speaker for Wizard. And the School of the Speaker is, so in Crit Roll, I know that they're currently doing Dunamancy, which is like time magic.
Magic that alters fate and time and gravity.
God, that sounds so complicated, man. Fuck that.
So like I think it's based off of like Einstein with like gravity alters time, but also quantum mechanics, like the many worlds interpretation. That
sounds way more than I'm willing to deal with. So
was Albert Einstein a Dunamancer?
Yes.
Albus Einstein? Think about it, LTAI listeners. So my school, the School of the Speaker, is kind of based on a joke from Arrested Development, which is that good children should be seen, not heard.
Oh boy.
Because the School of the Speaker is a language that is meant to only ever be read, never to be spoke.
Like Latin.
Because the reason being is that, much like the Forgotten Realms, there was a time where magic was whatever you willed it. It was Wild West style. And then after a tragedy, the Sundering that led to the creation of the Raven Queen, you do not use that language anymore. No mage in their right mind uses that language anymore, because that is like, hey, you want to fucking kill me? Here's this spell. Oops, I fucked up the last syllable. Now I'm a crab.
Okay, so bad Latin.
So this is Latin, but with a 98% chance of summoning demons.
Oof, bad Latin.
So Kylen, played by a dear friend of the channel, R-Justice282, I offered him before he took his third level in Wizard, or second level in Wizard, I let him know this is what I currently have planned, which is, the thing with the Weave is that you were always able to go past the 9th level. So breaking that down into a second level ability, you can cast a spell that is one spell slot higher than you would normally be able to cast once per long rest. the other thing, I purchased the Wizard's Compendium, published by TSR, that is every spell that was ever created between original D&D and 3rd edition. It is 4 volumes.
Oh, geez.
Of spells. And looking at it, my thought was, why the fuck can't my wizard cast this?
Right.
I have these. I have the books. Can I not cast this? So like it was more for me as a DM, because I know that RJ is incredibly inventive. But yeah, so my D&D class was legitimately made specifically because I wanted an inventive player to have a class reward for doing inventive things.
Yeah, rewarding creativity.
Yeah. No, and it's look, I understand y'all are getting into level 8, but stop dealing over 100 points of damage.
Indoor, when have I ever dealt over 100 points of damage?
You haven't. I am staring dead center at RJ for dealing 108 damage.
Actually, I think I did do it once.
Oh, yeah, no, fuck that. I had a matriarch set up that had like 150 HP. One Arjan later, it had like 20.
Okay,
Dang.
but that was a lot of very specific circumstances and
I don't give a
vulnerabilities.
shit. Fuck you guys. So
Listen, you've killed me twice.
And you've gotten stronger every time.
And me once.
So that was D&D subclasses, Miasma, 5e, Homebrew, Adventures. So the only thing left that I have personally left to talk about is the world.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the world of Illyria. This is going to seem awful weird from where we've been, but for everybody who is making a homebrew world from where I am, don't be afraid to erase and wipe and just be like, nope, this was a bad place, and fucking nuke it. So the first world that I ever built was a DM's guide world, where I looked at all of the random tables and said, yep, I have been playing a bunch of Witcher 3. Everything has weird Nordic names. And I have made this world now. Playing it. And my players were like, okay. And then I always have multiple groups going in my homebrew world, because as long as I run in the same world, I'm fine.
Whenever I explain like the ease of running multiple campaigns in the same world, Camille does D&D, which is like, yeah, it's sort of like owning more than one dog. Having one dog takes a lot of time and energy, but a second dog is not nearly as high than energy.
Oh fuck, that's good. That's a good one.
Yeah.
My 2 dogs.
So the way that I ran it was that I had the quote unquote neighbor campaign, which is honestly how I met my fiance, was by talking to her like a person during D&D games. You would think that it would be pretty easy to do. Apparently it wasn't. And talking with her about stuff, and like, one of the things that I kick myself the most about, that I shouldn't, is that I was going to sell a Wand of Magic Missile with 30 charges for like 100 gold.
Oh.
And the player said no! You thought it was too expensive!
Oh no. Oh baby.
And that's why I was like, I'm a dum-dum for making this item, but you're a dum-dum for saying no. But like,
no.
so I had like neighbor campaign, I had a world set out, and it was basically like, I don't have enough time to be a good dungeon master. I feel I've listened to all of Critical Role up to this point. I've been watching C Team since episode 1. I understand what a good dungeon master is. I don't feel like I am that.
Are you sure about that?
Yes.
John Cena pops in. Are you sure about that? Like, comment, subscribe, ring that motherfucking bell if you think Indoor is a good DM.
Whenever I first joined the Four Keeps crew, I told the person running that campaign where I became a god in, and he's just like, yeah, so I went back and like watched one of those episodes. Man, that dungeon master, he's like so good.
That's you.
Other people who have seen the show, just like, they all say the same thing. It's just like, oh my god, the dungeon master is so good.
I saw Connor on Four Keeps, and I was like, Connor, I want to get in a game run by Indoor. It's the last thing I do. I want that for me.
So,
Yeah.
I hope you're getting the validation that you deserve.
It's one of those things where, regardless of how well you do, because of the social economy that Dungeons and Dragons currently has, I can be a great dungeon master, sure, but I have those that I look up to.
Yeah.
And I know, like, it's one of those things like, who the fuck does Chris Perkins look up to?
I mean,
like, who is his stepping stone? Like, who is he like reaching up for in a very anime pose, trying to accomplish? I'm just like, no.
Well, see, even Chris Perkins, like, he gave up running Acquisitions Incorporated because he's like, I have too much anxiety. Like, I don't feel like I can keep doing this.
Yeah.
So he ends up handing it off to somebody who he respects, Jeremy Crawford.
Dude, Jeremy Crawford, one of the greatest panels I ever went to was just listening to Jeremy Crawford talk for an hour. It was great. Apparently, he went to the seminary attempting to be like a religious brother, and then in doing so found the man that he was going to eventually marry. And so he went working in the seminary. But he was just like, I started off with levels of cleric and switched to levels of wizard. And at that, I looked over at RJ and he was just like, what? What do you want from me? Yeah, I get it. Maybe cleric's maybe Caleb's Jeremy Crawford. It doesn't matter.
So now we just need to find him a nice man to settle down with, and it'll be fine.
I'm trying. As the DM, I'm trying. No, so
that man may happen to be Corey based off of our alternate universe, but
yeah. No, so for me, it's one of those things where people can tell me that I am a good dungeon master all they want, but part of me will always be tied in when I was 10 years old and I wrote my first quote-unquote story where I couldn't read my own handwriting, telling it to my family before dinner, and my siblings giving me shit. Like, that moment of smallness persists throughout my entire life. So, like, as running as your DM for the Four Keeps, running as your DM for Saltmarsh, there are days, there are weeks, there are months where I second guess myself in terms of being able to run games for you, but I feel like honing in and realizing there are games that I am unhappy with, that I do not, don't necessarily not enjoy, but that I feel like I could have done so much better at if the situation was right. But
Yeah.
I have this moment of like self-cannibalization in terms of ego, but then Nights in the Courtyard happens. And then I hear you guys being like, oh my God, we had to do all of these things. I can't believe that all of these things happen. And it's like that self-cannibalization moment stops and then begins to work in reverse, because it's like, wait, oh shit, you guys actually did enjoy the session. Okay. Oh, that's not so bad. And then like that eating like hand motion turns into a general like pat on the tummy of like, oh, I did a good thing.
Aw.
Hey.
Yeah.
Because I know that there has been sessions for me, because like one of the other things that happened was that I was running for keeps. And I always felt fresh on. I always felt like, okay, I am running my world that I have scrapped 3 times now. I like the current world that you guys are playing in is the 3rd iteration of map, of cities, and I can get into how I develop those later, but like of how everything is laid out. And even if I'm like, you guys went into this city and you did some shit, you guys are like, oh my God, I've never met this NPC before. I've never had this interaction before. I've never introduced like myself in this way. And so for me, it's like, I've been sitting on that interaction for months. So by the time that it happens, it's like, oh, okay, you guys meet this person. You guys, oh, this is the first time I've met this person. It's like, oh yeah, oh shit, oh hey, what's up? Well, how's it going? It's me, it's me, your pal, your friend, your buddy, Arilla Thread Twister. Welcome to Things That Make You Say wow.
Wow.
Wow, or wow.
It's almost like unpacking after sessions is a good thing.
It's almost
Yes.
as if those safety tools are super great.
Yeah. No, the other thing that I have is that in my initial campaign, it was that I would build out the cities and then figure out where they got placed on the map. And that is not good. What you need to do, and this is speaking of somebody who, my major in college was history. My minor was in sociology. It was legitimately about the movements of people and about how people then structured themselves from that place. Make your map first. Build out cities, build out settlements based off of natural features on that map. You will get much more believable areas on that map setting because that is where they would go anyways. So like if there's like a lake at the bottom of a mountain, why is nobody living there? There should be at least 3 civilizations that are living there because everything is abundant.
Are you guys taking notes? Because this guy has a piece of paper that tells him he knows what the fuck he's talking about.
I drew a smiley
Phoenix
face.
Wright slapping the paper.
No, it's legitimately build your map before you build your setting, because otherwise you could be like, this setting has this thing. Okay, here's your map, motherfucker. Where does it go? An island, not on the mainland. Cool. So your players are never going to visit it. Grats. Like build it in, and then the other thing is, you can set everything that you want to happen in the same year. That's fine. But depending on the hook that your players go on, have that event always happening.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of what happens, regardless of what they do, it doesn't matter. Your event over here, where they have no influence, is always happening.
Mm.
Every other event that you have can happen as soon as the players arrive. But if you timestamp the first event that they visit and have that always be happening, for example, the Four Keeps, you guys have, during your time, experienced a change of political view within the city of Shroudport.
Yep.
But you weren't there.
Nope. We know about it.
Hearing NPCs talk about the state of the world while you are not there in that part of the world makes it feel as though the world is alive.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
If your players only ever went to that area and that is the only time that they ever heard about a change, as a player, that just feels like your world is waiting for you to step through the gate so you can experience a cutscene. That is not what a living RPG is about.
absolutely.
You want to make it feel like your players are living in it, not just experiencing it. So if you can have them enter into the game, wander around, and then they go back and they're like, what do you mean magic's outlawed? That's bullshit. Who the fuck would do that? This one guy over here that you met very briefly. Like, I don't know if I like this. Man, fuck that guy. Like, you're right. Fuck that guy. What are you going to do? You're halfway around the world.
Who knew that somebody who bought us buttons one time would turn out to be a BBEG? But yeah, that's it. We're getting pretty close to big old sleepy time.
Oh, it's big old sleepy time. Faux show. But
yeah, it's good talk about home brewing, or doing homebrew campaigns, player options, and world building.
And Tim Curry.
Tim Curry.
Tim Curry. He's the most important one. The only thing that I would like to leave your listeners off with is for people out there who don't necessarily feel like they are the best dungeon master, or that they are the best at storytelling, or that they have the best story to tell. It doesn't matter. Absolutely none of, in the weirdest way, none of your opinions matter. As far as second guessing, as far as doubting, as far as making yourself believe that you are incapable of doing this, your opinion does not for a goddamn second matter, because as long as you are doing a thing that makes you happy at the end of the day, as long as you see that your players are having a good time, as long as you can ask your players and say, are you having a good time? And they all respond with a resounding yes, your opinion does not matter. Listen to those around you. Understand that the people beside you want you to succeed as best that you can, and we'll be right here with you, believing in you.
Fuck yeah.
I can't think of a better note to end on. So
So
before we say something stupid,
or
let's wrap up.
spiteful. Because that's where I was about to head. Let's wrap up. Indoor, thank you so much for stopping by for 2 whole episodes. All your links to your Twitter, your Twitch, where we stream Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays? Thursdays,
not Wednesdays.
Thursdays, not Wednesdays. And sometimes Saturdays.
Yes. Honestly, the Saturdays might swap back to Wednesdays because of my schedule. But you can find me on all of those places at Indoor Adventures, except on Twitter. I am sorry because
Indoor,
my
what the
URL
fuck?
That is where you can find me, actually. It turns out that Twitter does not support an additional character length that I would need to be Indoor Adventures. So you can find my personal Twitter account at Indoor What the Fuck.
Check him out. He's a cool dude. And Kylen and I are always here.
Yeah.
And doing other stuff. So yeah, check out all of our stuff. And we will see y'all next time.
Take care of yourself, sweet babies.
Bye.
All right, everybody. Bye-bye! My cat wants to play.
Oh, magic. Magic.